Hello friends, and welcome back to ReddX, Trace Amounts of Science. Yes, we're getting into some r/slash Neckbeard stories today, just a bunch of classics, randomly grabbed, but maybe we can find a theme or something like that along the way. We'll just have to see how it goes, I guess. So thanks so much for being here. Let's go ahead, jump right on into this thing. And our first story is, I slept with a neckbeard and he just won't let it go. Yeah, he's really hooked in now. Hello, amazing Reddit peeps. Hi, deleted user. So I've been kind of lurking on Reddit for a while now, but never got around to making my own account until today. After a few drinks during video chat sessions with my friends, let's call her Mandy, we got onto the topic of this creep and she encouraged, forced, me to start an account and tell this tale, which is one of many, and well, I'm easily led, so here it goes. I mean, we take those. I don't want you to be forced into anything, but I do like a good story. Quick trigger warning, there's some mention of some non-consensual stuff. I won't go into detail about it, and it only happens in works of fiction that Gavin showed me, but if that makes you uncomfortable, then maybe skip this story. Your mental health is more important than my story. Well, that's true. We will call this neckbeard Gavin for this story. No offense to any actual Gavins out there. Anyway, Mandy and I have known Gavin since we were in primary school, but we never started hanging out with each other until we were in secondary school, and he grew into your typical baby neckbeard. Anime clothes, beard, awful hygiene, etc. He was basically just lacking the fedora and the trench coat. He continued this way when we started attending college. We all attend the same college, the closest one to us, but we take different courses. Mandy does music, I do fashion, Gavin does art. He's definitely gifted, but can't take any criticism, and seems to only be interested in his assignments if he has a chance to draw anime guys and girls in really revealing clothing. He would hand in half-assed attempts if he didn't find the work interesting. Anyway, sorry for rambling. Back to the story. Well, let me jump in here for a second and say, hey, liberal arts degrees, this is a great choice. I came out to my family when I was 17, and it took some time for the family to come to terms with it, although they are amazingly supportive now. During the time that they were struggling to come to terms with it, I went through kind of a rebellious stage. I had a bunch of boyfriends, all short-term, and I slept around a lot, though never when I was in a relationship. It was partly because I wanted to spite my parents, though I'd never do anything to verbally or physically hurt them, and partly because it made me feel wanted. I'm not going to go into a big sob story here. All that y'all need to know is, at this point in time, I slept around, and it wound up leading to Gavin and I doing it after a party. We hadn't drank much, but I'd had a pretty rough few days and desperately wanted to feel, wanted, and Gavin was there to provide that. An important thing to note here was that I had made it perfectly clear before and after it happened that it didn't really mean anything, and he agreed with me. I found out a while later, and although I don't like him anymore, I still feel really bad that I was his first because, well, a lot of people want their first time to be special. I don't know, but the guilt is still there. I mean, he made his choice, you know? He's like, take this V card away from me. It's a curse. And so you did. I wouldn't feel guilty about that at all. Although, yeah, it's not a surprise that you took his virginity and then he turned into like a little puppy man following you around everywhere. He's just waiting to try and get it in again. But it's not going to happen. Anyway, things were fine at first until Mandy pointed out that Gavin was hanging around me a lot more, complimenting me, initiating a lot of physical contact, and had even started calling me puppy, which I do not like in the slightest. No, you got that backwards, Gavin. You're the puppy man. What the fuck? It is a cute nickname, I guess, but it made me kinda uncomfortable. Anyway, this continued for a couple weeks, and I took him aside a few times to remind him that I loved him as a friend, and that what happened didn't mean that we were dating. I even apologized for giving him the wrong impression, and he assured me that I hadn't, and he was just showing his friend some affection. Yeah, we know what kind of affection this guy's looking for, don't we, ho? I still felt bad that us sleeping together may have meant more to him than it had to me, so I let his behavior slide, though I still made sure to remind him every now and then that I loved him as a friend, not as a boyfriend. This behavior persisted until he started trying to get me to watch some gay anime cartoons with him, or would send me gay fanfics to read. And these weren't your cutesy fanfictions either. They involved a lot of non-consensual things. Think brainwashing, etc. Just, generally not something that I'd like to read. I'm not exactly vanilla, but that stuff is way out of my comfort zone, and I told him how uncomfortable it made me on several occasions. He even went as far as to compare me to the submissive in one of the fanfics. Well, he said submissive, but I didn't really see it like that. It wasn't consensual, and it made me ill kind of thinking about it. I made excuses to not hang out with him on my own, and told him that he was making me uncomfortable and that I didn't like the stuff that he was showing me. I never fully yelled at him or anything at this point, as I don't do too well with confrontation. Yeah, you don't have to yell, but definitely some sharp words might be enough to get him to leave. Then again, I don't know. He seems stuck like glue. We could try the yelling. How about that? The first time I ever got mad at him for his behavior was when he started telling guys at college that I had STDs in order to stop them from sleeping with me. Most of them were straight and hadn't shown any interest in me. I met guys through apps mostly, and although most of them didn't believe it, I still felt kind of humiliated. When I confronted him about it, he just said something along the lines of, "I was just protecting you. You need someone to look after you and make sure you don't get hurt." God, you're so overprotective against somebody who's clearly not interested. Just stop it. Please, could you take a break? I yelled at him and reminded him that he was not my boyfriend, and that all he had done was humiliate me and made me lose my trust in him completely. It was a really low point for me, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but yeah, it happened, and the college did give him a stern talking to. Oh, well, good for them, I guess, stepping in the line of fire on behalf of OP. But also, shouldn't there be more repercussions than just slap on the wrist? Whatever. After that, I stopped talking to him. I was furious with him and haven't spoken to him since, though this hasn't exactly stopped him. He goes through phases of sending me gifts for Valentine's Day or my birthday or even just out of the blue. They range from art supplies, Funko Pop figurines and DVDs to explicit drawings and adult toys. Are you returning these gifts? I would not accept this. I left them at his desk the first few times, but he ended up resorting to throwing them in the trash, as he wouldn't take them back and I didn't want them. He did calm down with this recently, and resorted to sending me messages, drawings, and explicit photos online. He created several accounts under different names to contact me. I've blocked most of them, but he just keeps on making more. Though he isn't always like this. He goes through phases of insulting me, reminding me no one will ever love me, creating groups of different people that he sends me screenshots of and tells me that these are all the people that can't stand me, although it's pretty obvious to me that they're all him. Yeah, about as transparent as it gets. I know who I am. I don't need you to fucking sign off. I'm not 100% sure what to do. The college has reminded him not to come near me or my class, and has spoken to him several times about his behavior. Oh yeah, the first talking to didn't work. Maybe it'll work if we just talk to him some more. What the fuck expel him, okay? Then it's solved. I don't really want to get the police involved, as it'll just worry my family, and I know he would never physically do anything. He's more of an annoyance than anything else. So here's my story of Gavin the Neckbeard. I have plenty more of them, and even have some screenshots of conversations that we had before I blocked him. I might post more, but I'm not sure. I'm still really new to the whole posting on Reddit thing. Sorry about the writing, it's not my specialty. And my attention span is practically non-existent, so there's a bunch of stuff missing. Anyway, I hope y'all are staying safe and having a wonderful day or night. I do appreciate that, OP. It's been most wondrous well, and I'm glad that Gavin, I guess, eventually left you alone. This is concerning behavior for sure, and although you're like, I don't think he'll do anything physically, you can't really take that to the bank, you know? You never know what somebody else is plotting or capable of. But with that in mind, it's important that, you don't get knocked out of your loop and stuff like that. Just continue on. Like I said, know who you are and don't fucking worry about it too much. Once the trouble comes, then we'll deal with it. Okay? Overall, not a bad story, but a little lackluster. We'll see if we can step it up in the next one, shall we? This story is titled Meeting a Neckbeard on Star Wars The Old Republic, which is an MMO. I think it's still going. On unofficial servers. Pretty lit. Had people try to pull me into it, but I don't know. I ain't got that kind of time. Hi, this is my first post on this subreddit, and I'm not sure how well this will fit. English is not my first language, so please excuse any mistakes. So as the title says, I met this guy on Star Wars The Old Republic. For those that don't know, it's an online RPG where you can challenge other players to a duel, and this one guy challenged me to one. Let's call him Onyx. After the duel, we teamed up to do some missions together. At this point, he seemed normal, if a bit weird, because he used a lot of asterisks while texting in-game. Are they creepy asterisks? Because maybe you don't want to quest with that guy no more. After a few days of the same routine of meeting up in-game and getting to know each other, for context, he told me he was 21 and I was 16, he started getting weird. He would text me asking about whether I was single, or a virgin, or if I would agree to an open relationship, etc. I thought it was weird but harmless until he started texting me stuff like, "Are you horny right now?" Or "finger blasts you." What the fuck? Yeah, just wow, that came out of left field. No thank you. Safe to say I was really uncomfortable, but since I'm not comfortable with confrontation, I simply logged off the game and ignored it. I mean, that should be a clue to him, honestly. I don't think he's gonna pick it up on purpose, but he knows deep down in his heart that this is not acceptable. OP says it was stupid, I know, but yeah, don't beat yourself up for stupid mistakes from the past. That's fine. After me not coming online for some time, he started messaging me on Discord. Ugh. He was able to find me there since we were in the same guild server. I now know that I should not have answered him at all, but I decided to give him a second chance. So we started chatting again. He seemed normal again, not mentioning what had happened in-game at all. See, he's just trying to avoid responsibility. Just come out and say, "Sorry, I made you uncomfortable. Hey, I had some hormones and shit going in my brain that made me act all weird." But no, you can't even have that conversation. It's ridiculous. He sent me a picture of how he looked. Greasy black hair, glasses, overweight, and of course, who could forget the patchiest neckbeard I've ever seen. And we just chatted normally. Again, that lasted only for a few days until he started to become weird again. I would ask him what he was up to and would receive an answer like, "I'm trying to get in your pants," or simply a "pulls you into my lap." Yes, plenty of creepy asterisks in this story. I would tell him that I was uncomfortable with that, and he would stop, but basically only for the day. The next day, it would start all over again. He would constantly ask weird stuff like, "What would it take for you to consider dating me?" Or, "Can I kiss you?" Finally, I had enough, told him not to contact me again, and blocked him, which of course was long overdue. I mean, that's okay. We made the correct choice eventually. Anyway, sorry if this is a bit anticlimactic, but thankfully nothing else happened so far. If any YouTuber covers this on their channel, please send me a link. Yeah, you can do that if you want, whatever. Star Wars The Old Republic does attract a certain breed, I will say that much. One of the nicest guys I ever knew was pretty into Star Wars The Old Republic, and he never made things creepy between me and him, but that might be because I'm a dude, so he knows how to interface with me a little better. I truly wish that I could help him out and fix it for him and stuff, but at a certain point it's just a matter of practice. Get out there and treat people like people and see what happens with it. just do your best to not be a creep. Please. Thank you. Next post. Our next post is titled, "The Greatest Pickup Line Ever Used on Me," by a neckbeard, of course. I'm interested. OP says, I'm sorry if this is long, but I think it's worth the read. So I had plans to hang out with my girlfriend, let's call her Stacy, one night. And during the day, she asked me if it was cool that she bring along an old friend who's a guy. Let's call him John. She said he was single, so I paid more attention to detail when dolling myself up to go out. Okay, so I'm going to assume that OP is a woman, and we're using girlfriend in like a friendly way. I'm not sure. I was debating between heels and flats, and I settled on flats because I could have pulled either off with this outfit, but the original plan for the evening included going back to her apartment to make some of her new teas and watch a stupid movie on Netflix. I thought I'd be a little more casual. John was running late, so we waited at a bar near our office and had some cocktails. I was actually really nervous waiting for him, and we weren't even being set up or anything. Stacy told me that he was single in a joking manner, but there were no pretenses going in, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Honestly, you might have mixed up the memos or something like that. I think that John thinks that something is going to happen here. I just made myself nervous because I was about to meet a single guy. Stacy's cool, so I figure that anybody who she likes must also be cool. I was watching the door anxiously. A few guys came into the bar, but none of them were him. Then a neckbeard walked in, and my heart sank. He was wearing a Pac-Man t-shirt, jeans with the back tattered slightly, and some beat-up-looking dress shoes. Oh yeah, the dress shoes is really what pulls it together. You stepped it up a notch. This is John. He was husky, greasy, and carried himself like a bashful puppy. I don't know how else to describe it, but I could tell just by his walk and general appearance that he had no spine. Oh, poor John, honestly. I feel bad for him, sorta. He was very polite. The whole evening, he was very nice when dealing directly with me. There were moments where he only spoke to Stacy, and occasionally I noticed fleeting moments where he was confident enough to make a comment or joke that clued me into what kind of person he really was. Appropriate comments or jokes, or not? He'd hold every door for us, and we'd have to walk in front of him if the sidewalk got too narrow. He kept calling me, ma'am, which was weird, but more so in retrospect. I noticed that while he seemed to know how to be polite, he lacked other social graces. When Stacy and I closed our tabs, he was ordering one final giant beer because it wasn't last call quite yet. It was clear that we were ready to leave, but he didn't pick up that cue. I mean, did you tell him? that might help. Finally, we got to Stacy's apartment and watched half of some samurai movie dubbed into English because those two are into that sort of thing, I guess. I wasn't into the movie at all, but I still tried to have a good time. The original plan was for us to stay up like it was a slumber party. I even brought pajamas. John the Beardo wouldn't leave, however. I thought he was only joining us for drinks, but he basically followed us back to Stacy's house. But yeah, I guess she didn't exactly stop him. This is making me pretty skeeved out. Some sus things are happening, and I think it's about time to speak up. Like, hey, Stacy, I didn't know there was going to be a third wheel at the slumber party thing. Maybe I want to go home now. I think I will go home now. Right before sunrise, I realized that Stacy was never going to kick John out, and John refused to leave, so I just gathered my things and got ready to leave myself. I noticed John started behaving as if he was getting ready to leave as well. Whatever. I'm tired, and I have my mind set on going home to my own bed, so I leave regardless. John walks out with me and helps me catch a cab, like a gentleman. I didn't mind having a man with me there on the sidewalk so late, but I did mind when he decided that we should split the cab. We live in opposite ends of the city, so now I was annoyed. I thought this guy would be out of my hair once I left Stacy's apartment, but this was far beyond being a gentleman. See, there's a really fine line, you know? And he seemed to walk it pretty good for a little while, but, yeah, eventually the other shoe was going to drop. So we have the cab go to my apartment first, and along the way the conversation becomes only about me in a very abrupt way. All of a sudden, the guy wants to know everything there is to know about me. Well, he could have done this hours ago instead of showing off, but he chose not to, and that really pissed me off. I was now acting even more tired than I really was, and being short with my answers. I barely made eye contact with him in the back of the cab. Finally, we got back to my apartment, and as I said goodbye to him, he dropped the most hardcore line on me that I've ever heard. Can I come upstairs? I'm sorry, good night. In the most defeated and pathetic voice ever, John said to me, Okay, good night. Nice to meet you. I was pretty shocked by that question, so I fumbled with the keys to the front door of my building. Gentleman Johnny either didn't tell the cab driver to wait for me to get inside, or he told him to drive off. Well, not such a gentleman anymore. I think the less time you spend around that guy, the better. It's fine. I've never had a guy try that, especially one that I wasn't even on a date with. Ew! I had to take a shower before bed. It took even longer to dry my hair because I kept stopping to stare at myself in the mirror and reflect upon the horror that I had just survived. TLDR, friend's beardo buddy thought he could get into my pants in a casual setting because of his expert chivalry. Yeah, I held the door open for you. It ain't gonna suck itself. You're a ridiculous human being, John. I want you to know that.
John waddled in rocking Pac-Man drip and a gallon of beer like that was foreplay. Newsflash, mate. She ain't dropping panties for Miss Pac-Man high score. Gubbins.
Oh, come on. I got the high score. I got the cherries. That means something, doesn't it? Didn't you see me running away from the ghosts? Aren't you impressed? All right, finish him off, Dark One.
He thought Mom was a magic spell, but it just screamed my mom never hugged me, and now I beg strangers to. Dark Gubbins.
Damn, nice and pointed. I like that a lot. Ma'am counts for nothing, okay? It makes me a little uncomfortable, if anything. But yeah, at least nothing bad happened in the story, really. You know, OP got out of there. No harm, no foul. But John definitely is a weird guy. I feel bad in advance for the next girl that he quote-unquote hangs out with. Boy, oh boy. Alright, we'll get into another post, see how it goes. This one titled, Pool Shark Neckbeard Hustles Innocent Bar Patrons. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sharking. Everybody know that. What's up, guys? Long-time reader, first-time posters. Apology for bad formatting, etc. So to preface, I live in a particularly drunken U.S. city, and I work days at the banks and nights at a bar in the downtown area of said city. Sometimes I'll get out of my day job and walk to my favorite bar to have a few shots or drinks before I have to go and deal with the drunken frat kids for the rest of the night. I like this bar because the drinks are cheap and way too strong, and they're always playing some random punk or 90s emo. Honestly, sounds like my kind of place. During this early evening time, it's usually just me and a couple of other dedicated drinkers sitting in there not bothering each other. At least, usually. Yesterday, I stopped in to kill a couple of hours and was sitting at the bar with a couple of other beer delivery guys who were on their breaks, and the neckbeard of our story walks in. He was a tall, skinny dude who looked like he had to be in like his late 30s or early 40s. He had a wiry, greasy-looking ponytail, a trademark patchy beard that he was wearing, all black, including a Mac-style duster. Is basically a trench coat. For the sake of this story, I'll call him Pool Shark Beard, or PB for short. So the first thing Pool Shark Beard did upon entering the bar was walk right up to me, get uncomfortably close, and ask, "Excuse me, sir, do you play pool by any chance?" This isn't a bar where random strangers typically walk up to you, so I was caught off guard. "Nah, man," I replied. It was Cinco de Mayo, and the bartender had Selena on TV and chicharrones out on the bar, so I couldn't be bothered with all that. After that, I watched as he did the same thing to everyone else in the bar, until he eventually found a taker in a cute hipster girl who was sitting by herself in the corner. The two walked over to the pool tables in front, and I forgot about him for a bit. A few minutes later, Pool Shark Beard walked back up to the bar and ordered, "1 shot of your finest whiskey, and 2 shots of your cheapest tequila." He then told the beer delivery guys that his oversized novelty sombrero was not okay and racist, when the dude was clearly Hispanic, and he proceeded to lecture him on the history of Cinco de Mayo. Oh, Pool Shark Bear. I don't know who you're trying to impress with all this. Probably the little hipster girl, but she thinks it's funny. Me personally, I just more find it sad. You really got something to prove, don't you? When he was finished with his lesson, he told the bartender that the title fight record he was playing was shit, and asked him to put on some band that I've never heard of, but can only assume that it was some obscure fantasy metal band from the name. Now, normally they'll kick people that are bothering other patrons out, but judging from everyone's faces, I think we were all collectively amused and wanted to see where this was gonna go. I mean, nowhere good, but if you're drunk, free show, right? So Pool Shark Beard went back to his pool game, and we went back to whatever we were doing. Soon I started hearing angry grunts and mutters coming from across the table, followed by things like, "Wow, of fucking course!" A few minutes later, the girl walked up with a fresh $5 bill and exclaimed, "Look what I won!" Then she bought a drink with it and walked outside to the back patio. Pool Shark Beard came back up to the bar shortly after and started ranting about how that bitch got super lucky. He started looking for someone else to play, and the racist delivery guy agreed to play him for $10. Once again, I started hearing the same sounds coming from the tables, along with amused laughter. Pretty soon, the delivery guy walked up with a $10 bill and announced that he had to get back to work. Pool Shark Beard was not happy about this and loudly demanded that they play double or nothing. When this was rebuffed, he pleaded, "Can I at least have my $10 back then?" The delivery guy told him to fuck off and left. Yeah, fair and square, isn't it? After that, no one wanted to play Pool Shark Beard, so he just sort of awkwardly stood around the bar and muttered some story in my general direction about going to Australia and meeting some bartender girl there who he was now in a long-distance relationship with. Yeah, okay, dude. I nodded politely and said, "Yeah, okay, cool, man." After which he stood there in silence for a few minutes before shuffling out of the bar. What a fucking weird individual, you know? Just conduct yourself like a human being. Could you? Is that possible? The weird thing is, I can't figure out if he was really just that bad at pool and thought it would be easy to beat random strangers, or if this was all part of his master plan to hustle us. Either way, he failed pretty miserably. Anyway, I see neckbeards quite a bit in the wild, but I thought I'd share this story because this incident caught me so off guard. Thanks for reading, guys. Please feel free to leave comments if you have suggestions on improving my writing or formatting, or if you found this story boring and shitty. It's not the most boring or shitty story that I've ever seen. Oh, there's a picture of the Mac Duster, the trench coat that he was talking about earlier. Yes, this archiver grabs images too. That's sweet. Personally, I'm pretty terrible at pool. My wife beats me essentially every time we play, but it's still fun, you know. Sometimes I do marginally better than others, and I don't know, maybe if I practiced enough. You don't have to play for money, though. I don't know if he realizes that. Like, you could just play the game and practice for free until you're good enough to actually beat people. That's what I would advise personally, but I can't tell you how to live truly. So let's go ahead and we'll shove one more story in here for today. This story titled, How Having a Neckbeard Ex Put Me Off Sex for Years. That bad of an experience, huh? Well, I suppose it does happen sometimes. So, I was just an insecure 16-year-old and he, a 19-year-old college student. I thought he was a man of the world. That's how he portrayed himself. Let's call him Frank. Frank was around 6'2", pretty overweight, and wore an actual fedora. To his credit, he actually shaved the hairs off his neck, but he wore a goatee which looked, in retrospect, pretty ridiculous because of how thin his hairs were. Yeah, you gotta wax them shits. All the hairs gotta come together. It's like a teamwork situation with the goatee. I don't know if he knows. Somebody should tell him. Frank was big into atheism, hated organized religion. He would always quote things like, "Religion is the opium of the masses," and other Marx quotes. He loved that shit. Ew, commie. I was kind of spiritual at the time, and he would gently mock my beliefs at times. I was too intimidated by his age and his big words and long sentences to ever go against him very strongly, but it did make me uncomfortable. At the same time, he would also praise me, compliment my appearance, and always asked how my day was going on in chat. He gave me a lot of attention, showered me with it, in fact, which killed some of my initial repulsion. Eventually, he grew closer to me. Yeah, this is all part of the game. Should have seen it coming, but at 16 years old, I don't know. It's a lot harder to suss these things out. I didn't want to date anyone at the time. I made it abundantly clear, but Frank was a very persistent guy. Like, he would not let go. He couldn't take no for an answer. We met on a chat app and talked a bit. He became a friend, a confidant, but he wanted more. Frank, why don't you want to have a relationship with me? Like, with doing it and all that good stuff. OP says, I'm not comfortable with it because I have body issues. I feel unattractive. I just don't want to. Frank, I'm sure I can make you feel different. I'm sure I can make you change your mind. You just haven't met the right guy yet, that's why. Okay, but if somebody says they don't want it, and then you're like, I can change your mind, it's not a great way to go, okay? It seems a little coercive and weird, and yeah, I don't like it none too much. OP says, I'm not even sure if I really like guys. I'm kind of bi, and I'm still figuring out what my sexuality even is, so why don't you just leave me be? Because I need some time. Frank, you're just unsure because you haven't tried things. Give me a try. Take a chance on me. You may be uncertain now, but I can promise you I'll make you feel at ease. I'll make you feel good. Oh, God, fucking skin is crawling. This went on back and forth for a long time. He would just push, insist, whine and complain. Yes, like I said, coercion. He never knew how to take no for an answer, and honestly, I was just weak. You know, I was and still am terribly insecure, especially in those days. Part of me really needed the affirmation, the confirmation, the validation, and he seemed to worship the ground that I walked on. He called me his goddess. Goddess, please. Goddess this. Goddess that. It was weird and funny and pretty messed up, but somehow I guess that it got to me. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit. He's playing up to your ego. You can't let that happen. As soon as he sinks his hooks into you, he's gonna go from treating you like a goddess to treating you like absolute trash. I've seen it unfold 1,000 times. One night, I was in tears. I was heavily bullied for being a foreigner, and I felt so alone and sad. I was sleeping over at a friend's house, or I was supposed to, but then things went wrong. I had to leave. I had a panic attack, and I didn't know where to go. I was so lost, I couldn't possibly go home, so I called him. Wait a fucking second. Why couldn't you possibly go home? Your family should be able to support you through this more than basically anybody else in the whole world. We're gonna run to random internet stranger? Okay. It's not the greatest idea. I felt safe with him for all of his pushy and bad attitude because at least he was, well, someone who seemed to try, someone who liked me for who I was. I called him up in tears, barely able to form coherent sentences. He told me to be calm and keep breathing, and he would pick me up in his car. In Neckbeard Mobile to the rescue. So he did, and he brought me from the sidewalk I was on into his apartment. Oh no. Once there, he hugged me. You look like you need a hug, he said as we cuddled a bit. Oh no. I don't like this. OP says I was calmer now. He poured us wine. I never drank much yet, but he insisted. He said it was good for me, And so I drank, and he kept on pouring and talking and pouring. This real bad. OP is 16 at this point. He's basically liquoring up a child. Oh, God. A fucking bag of trash. After a while, a couple glasses down, midway down the second bottle, he starts kissing me. And he's a pretty bad kisser. But I go along with it because, I don't know, at least someone wants me. He touches my body, and I push his hand away, but he continues regardless. OP says, please don't. I'm not ready. Frank, if you keep this up, then you never will be. Just let me do my thing. Just let me do my thing. No. How about no? I hate this coercion, you know? What is wrong with you, truly? Fucking evil. OP says, please, I don't want to show my body. So he continues on, and my top comes off. This is my most dreaded moment. For all my life, I've been so insecure about my breasts. He just stares. I watch his face, his expression. Suddenly, it's as if he's turned off. What? Can't be that bad. What's going on there? I cover my breasts with my hands to avoid his gaze, and OP says, what's wrong, Frank? Your nips. What's wrong with them? Dude, what the fuck? Come on. OP says, what do you mean? He says, they're so big. What the fuck? I mean, some dudes like dinner plates. What's wrong with you? You gotta appreciate it for what it is, you know? This is the hand that OP was dealt, okay? You were so eager until this point. It's ridiculous. Shameless. OP says, I put my clothes back on quick as hell, got the fuck out of his apartment, even in my drunken state, and I blocked him everywhere. Never wanted to see him again, and never did. But he really fucked my self-esteem up big time. Yeah, that's so unfair, dude. That's you pull your little Peter out and let's have a look at that. Oh, what's wrong with your balls? Why are they so tiny? Like, OP didn't want to be here in the first place, and you're going to insult her openly. Make her feel insecure about herself even more than she clearly already is. I'm fucking disgusted at the end of the day. What a horrible human being!
He poured wine like it was consent and still folded the second nipples didn't match his anime expectations. Tragic virgin alchemy. Dark gubbins.
It's really sad more than anything. Like, I think he still would have gone through with it, but I'm proud of OP for fucking having the self-respect to be like, you know what? No. I'm getting the hell out of here. Well advised, honestly.
Frank really thought quoting Marx and rocking a Party City fedora would unlock goddess mode, but all it unlocked was a lifetime ban from intimacy. Gubbins.
Well, good. I'm glad. We don't need no more commies. That's what I know. Anyway, I hope you guys will check us out on Spotify, iTunes. Check out the Patreon or YouTube memberships if you'd like to support us month to month. I hope that you enjoyed these Neckbeard Stories, friends. And most of all, I'd like to remind you that you are loved, you are worthy. You definitely deserve it. I shall see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.